gas community. Hello, America. Hello, Texas. I am your host, Brandon Lalonde of the Quantum MechaniX podcast here in San Antonio, nestled in between the Permian Basin and the Eagleford Shale. Today, we are going to be talking about my platform, Quantum MechaniX. This is episode one of a series that goes over well, drilling industry processes and the platform I built to lower TRIR, lower NPT, and help drilling contractors manage and centralize all of their human-based data in one place. And then in addition to that, I've wrapped it in an AI. So you can get profound visibility across all of your data instantaneously. So the Quantum Mechanics podcast does go over the platform, but we're also going to talk about just drilling industry in general and what's going on and the amazing people, some of the experiences that I have had in the drilling industry. I've got 15 years experience. I broke out on a West Texas Kelly rig, Patterson Rig 60, next to the Midland Odessa Airport. That's right. The planes were flying right over us, it seemed like. And that kicked off back in 2010, an amazing journey that I've had through helping drilling contractors. I was first starting out as a roughneck. I started Roughneck Forum magazine, which was an early online publication that talked about the amazing people that I met and compelling stories, human interest stories, some of the issues that we encountered, and ways to improve the condition of the roughneck. That spun me into a career writing policy and dealing with and building a lot of the processes that really help drilling contractors be successful. So, for example, an entire maintenance program from top to bottom, ops level, all the way to depot remanufacturing. I built the comprehensive audit program for 215 drilling rigs at the time, and that was a fantastic project. It was myself and our environmental engineer who were basically given the task to go beyond just uh, tell me, right? Not just, hey, yeah, we're doing it, look at the paperwork. It was actually an audit that looked at show me, right? So putting those types of accountability mechanisms within processes for drilling contractors is super important. And beyond that, I really enjoy the industry. Stepping on that rig out in West Texas was a life-changing experience. I was fresh out of college at Texas A&M, political science, and writing was one of my skills, but stepping on a stepping on a rig in the middle of nowhere, and what seemed like the middle of nowhere at the time, was really transformational for me because I really didn't know a lot about life, being 21, and so a lot of those my crew members were, well, real ass people, and they had real things in life, families, bills to pay. So it was definitely a wild socialization process on the rig for me to kind of understand not only the work, but also the people, and finding my own stride in life at a very young age. So the oil and gas industry has given me a lot of perspective, a lot of lessons learned. And so over the years, beyond working specifically for drilling contractors, I have done contract work for a maintenance technician or an ops manager who needs one document, an ad hoc document. It's like, hey, Brandon, I need this. Can you build it for me? Whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or putting together a scope of work for an inspection. Rig move documents, that was a fantastic project, but there's like a million things to do and remember in a rig move. So that was like a 3-month process. But beyond that and doing ad hoc things, well, I've always known, especially for your smaller drilling contractors that are still doing paper-based PDFs, Excel spreadsheets, that the issue isn't a one document issue. It's actually a full platform issue and how they manage their data and their information. So in December, I had three different colleagues out in the field reach out to me, and they were like, Brandon, I need this document, I need that document. And I was like, well, actually, you don't need just one document, you need a platform, and I think I can build it. So that kicked off the project of building Quantum MechaniX and looking at the landscape of language models and artificial intelligence and machine learning, which I have been involved with, and I've seen it grow really exponentially over the past year. I thought that I could build something that Google did not have. Uh, Most of your AI language model platforms wouldn't have that because it really needs to be bespoke for the drilling contractor and their processes. And so how do we implement and drive a a platform like this? Well, one, you cannot disrupt the current processes. So you have to have some native knowledge of what's going on with the hierarchy and the structure of the operation. So of course, what's going on the rig, to the rig manager, to let's just say a drilling superintendent, to an area manager, to a regional VP, and then what's that context with, let's say there's rigs in, multiple regions or different plays throughout the country, then you need to know, well, who they report to and what everyone's role in is therein. What does the support system look like, whether it's technicians, HSC advisors, uh, auditors, HR, things like that. So that type of native knowledge really needed to be ingrained within this platform that I had envisioned for these colleagues that had reached out. So that led me down the path of, well, what tools are there? How would I build this? What would a platform like this look like? And at the fundamental level, really, you need a library, right? If you think about any institution, there are pillars of truth, right? Things that are non-negotiable or are a part of the philosophy or the mindset of a company. And so you have those foundational documents. So how do you store those documents? Well, you do that in a library, right? A database, essentially, if you wanted to use a more data-centric term, a database of documents that build the core foundation of who the company is and what they do. So that would include maintenance manuals, safety policy, uh, corporate statements on commitment to safety, IADC documents, IADC industry standards, API, things like that, OSHA. All of those things are in the nucleus of the the platform. So you start there, and if you have a digital platform, then how are you going to store digital items that happen in the field, right? So you need information to go into the center, into this data platform. And so whether it's inspections, incidents, investigations, root cause analysis, work orders, they all flow into the database, right, in different folders within the database. And then you're able to access those very quickly through the platform, which was the idea of quantum mechanics. So you start with that. And the first thing I started with in terms of developing it was looking at maintenance, the maintenance side of things. And so after you have your manuals and everything within your library, then you need well, where does the equipment live? What they call now the digital twin of your assets, right? So you have your paper bound here, and then you have your assets over here. And so you would create an equipment registry that would have the digital record of those assets, whether that's a catwalk, a top drive, an accumulator, whatever that equipment is. And there's many mud pumps, draw works, all of those things then live within the equipment registry. And that equipment registry has to be a little bit flexible because pieces of equipment can move around. I had worked on a project where essentially the company had lost millions of dollars of equipment. And although they actually kind of knew where it was, like, well, it's in the yard in East Texas, right? Somewhere outside of Tyler. They didn't have a digital record of where it was. So when you look at the, it was a publicly traded company, and they're saying, well, we have all of these assets on the books and we're going to depreciate them. And well, they don't really know where they were, so they put me on the path of finding all of these and putting a process in place to actually identify it. And then once we identified where it was, then put it into their work order system. So the equipment registry is super important because that becomes the historical record, right, for that piece of equipment, which is super important for drilling contractors for like warranty, to know, like, let's say you're going to do an asset transfer from one rig to another, right? Well, you're going to want to know where that happened and have an audit record, and then actually have not only the physical process of moving it, but the digital process of moving it as well. So all of your online records are aligned, and that's super important. So I built the equipment registry, and really I took an approach where the equipment registry speaks with the database, right? Because that's where you have all your manuals, and so those two link. But for what I had envisioned is that we would capture inspections out on the rig in real time. And so I created an inspection module. So essentially, as someone who's created essentially all kinds of different types of preventive maintenance documents, PMs, uh, I essentially used some of the templates that I had, some of the documents that I had, and I created a way, a module for the motor hand, floor hand, the derrick hand, whoever rig-based personnel to actually go out on the rig on a tablet or a phone and then capture that inspection in real time. Okay, and so I put like a uh, they call it Power Sync is the software I use, but Power Sync sits in the background. So if you don't have Wi-Fi at the time or internet connection, then you can still do those inspections. You get Wi-Fi and it uploads it all. So I created an inspection module. So there was three modules: the database, the equipment registry, and a way for Roughnecks to actually capture it out in the field. And the value of this really well is visibility, right? Because it gets you away from paper, it gets you away from Excel, gets you away from, PDFs. I developed a number of PDF documents for preventive maintenance, and that was like, well, 4 years ago, and it was like, wow, that's amazing, because the PDF document you could then enter in text in a field, or it'd have a drop down and things like that, which was really cool at the time. But now we've just accelerated so far past that, that real value in what you can do with quantum mechanics is that it goes directly into your database. And then other like shore-based users, so people, whether it's a maintenance technician, right, who's not assigned to the rig, they're assigned to many rigs, well, then they can see that information uploaded right away, right? Same thing with the rig manager. And so that was a big core fundamental piece the of the platform. And really kind of taking things to the next level is capturing it when it happens. So the next piece was, and I'm just like, now I'm like, well, I've already successfully created the database, the equipment registry, and my inspection module. But where is the accountability piece? And when we talk about accountability, like, systems that automate accountability are fantastic, because a lot of things fall through the cracks, right? And there's so much going on a rig. You have a rig move, you've got, you have to do your inventory, you're tripping out of the hole. There's all kinds of stuff, your regular maintenance, right? You've got a safety guy that's on location, you got the company man. There's a lot going on. So having that immediate information that's visible is a fantastic feature. But beyond that, I was like, well, where's the accountability? And so I built automated corrective actions that are created from what happens in the inspection. So if there is like something that is critical, then a corrective action is made. So a corrective action model exists, corrective actions are made, and then an email is sent out to the owner, right, based off of the severity or the line item, and their record within the system is assigned that corrective action. And then that corrective action over a period of time, if it's not fixed, well, then their boss within the hierarchy, right, within the system gets an email saying, hey, this corrective action is not completed. And so what the system is doing is driving behaviors. And behavior-based analysis of your operation is super important because we are humans out doing work, and having record of the work that needs to be done gives transparency. Transparency creates accountability, right? Because, what fascinates my boss, right? Well, what my boss is interested fascinates the hell out of me. And if my boss is interested in completing corrective actions, well, and I'm assigned those corrective actions, then I'm going to more likely than not get that done. And it's not like, well, hey, I got you, you didn't get it done. It's actually, look, I got this done and I know what to do. Like, this is a running to-do list for these, for my equipment. And so what's the value of that? If you have accountability, if you have transparency and visibility on your equipment, right? Well, you get things taken care of. You start identifying recurring failures. And the idea is that you lower NPT or different scenarios where unsafe conditions could happen. So potentially even your TRIR. So that was a huge component. That's a huge component of quantum mechanics, is that it drives accountability with different tools within the system. So then I was like, I need an icing on the cake. And what is out there right now that a lot of people don't have, or they don't know how to use or implement, and that is a AI language model. And so with those core foundational modules and capabilities within the system, I said, well, let me take a language model and wrap it around that human-based, rig-based data and provide a way to get your information almost instantaneously from the database of documents that's coming in from that human-based data. So I built QuantiX AI. And QuantiX is a purpose-built language model for the drilling contractor or the drilling industry. And it has a philosophy rooted in rational and logical philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, and a a penchant for helping and understanding what the challenges are for drilling contractors, people out in the field. And so there's a module for QuantiX, and it's kind of like an omniscient being as well. So there's different ways you can interact with it. But I said, let me build something that we can extract this data in seconds, because that's really what you can do now. And I did it. So I want to show you what the platform looks like now, maybe from a more digital backend perspective. So bear with me. I am going to pull up my screen here, and let's see if I can find it. There we are. So you should be able to see. I'm gonna make him a little bigger here. Okay, so you have your equipment registry at the center of the database, right? Like I said, you have work orders, or you have documents, you have your inspections, your corrective actions. I created a work orders module, an incident management module, as well as an analytics dashboard where you can see all of this. You can get all of this information basically instantaneously on a dashboard. And then as you can see, QuantiX up at the top wraps the entirety of the platform. So let me show you what that looks like if you were to be using the using the database. I'm pulling that up for you right now. There we go. So the user interface for quantum mechanics, really simple, really slick. You have your documents, you have your Ask QuantiX module, you have your equipment registry, you have your inspections, your work orders, corrective actions, incidents, and your analytics. So your document library, manuals, web imports, your reference library. You can ask QuantiX, have a conversation with QuantiX here. Your equipment registry, where you have all of your equipment. And handy little features throughout. Like here I can see that I have an action item open, and so I can click and I can find information. You have your your health, so the health of the equipment based off of the inspections, right? So in here, I can see my NOV-ADS 10SD DrawWorks is at 75%. Another one is at 60%, right? So quick visual indicators to show what is going on out on the rigs. You have your inspections here, so I can see what's completed, anything that's been flagged, equipment's in progress. I can look at all of my equipment, so I can see all of my inspections here. And if I'm a rig hand, I can create an inspection, right? So it's like, I am going to inspect the Bombco F1600 mud pump, number 1. Here's my daily, and I can start that inspection. So the user interface has to be super self-explanatory, very simple. Work orders, corrective actions, all of the corrective actions within the company, open and progress resolved, different priorities, critical, high, medium, low. So these are generated from your inspections as well as your incidents. And then I can also create a corrective action here outside of incidents and inspections, which is also a very handy tool. So we're going to get more in depth into this in the future of these podcasts, but I just wanted to show you the interface here. Here's my incident management system. I can create an incident here. And the analytics page. I really love this page because I kind of made it like ESPN, right? So as things are happening out in the rig, I can see those items pull up, right? Scrolling through. So in this data environment, I haven't updated it in a while, so you can see my completion rate is 0, but that's because I haven't completed anything in a number of weeks in here. This is a test environment. Average health score, recurring failures. This is So if you do have recurring failures, they would show up here, which is super important because you can see things happen over and over again and potentially put things in place to stop that. Recent inspections. So beyond your operations, right, and my equipment side, I can also look at the safety side, right? So here you can see your TRIR, right? Your total recordable incident rate over the hours worked, incidents by type, when the incidents happen. There you can see I last updated this in early March. Injury summary, severity distribution, and your rolling 12-month summary. And then as well, I can report hours in here, which is super important for your HSE department, right? So you can do that here within the system. So the idea is that this data is captured out in the field, and then it is centralized in one place. And then the user and the organization are given unbelievable transparency into their data to make good business decisions centered around the people, right? So what affects people? Well, incidents, right? They're working with the equipment, and so I went to the IADC Galveston conference a couple weeks ago in March, and one of my observations was that a lot of the technology, AI technology development was happening down in the well, right? So for drilling optimization down hole. What I didn't see a lot of, actually, I was kind of the only one there who was taking a little bit of a more human-centric approach, which is using AI to enhance the human experience out on the rig, the humans actually within the organization, and taking a data approach to do that with a platform that uses AI. What I found is that AI is kind of a buzzword, right? And I actually had an AI shirt, a really annoying AI shirt that said AI can reduce NPT and TRIR. Changed my mind with a big QR code on it. So I was like a walking AI billboard, and I did that for guerrilla marketing purposes because it was actually the QR code was to my contact information, and I went there so I could meet drilling contractors and get people's contact information. But I was like the AI guy, and just one of them because there were a lot. But I was the one that was saying, "Hey, Skynet is not going to go live with safety and maintenance data." And I literally have a sign that says that. Well, it's back there. Um, but I walked around with these signs. Okay. So, like, for example, I held up this sign: stop using AI for LinkedIn posts, start using AI on your rig. Yes, I'm talking about you. That one was kind of funny. My wife, she said, well, you should just make a sign that says this is a sign that your rig needs AI. So I ran around with signs regarding AI, but the plenary discussion was about the balance of AI and people, right? And what we found was AI is kind of a buzzword. It's like the drilling contractors aren't really the ones that are moving into this space. They're kind of downstream from the uh, well, the exploration companies, the operators, right? They're going to push that. It was interesting because one of the board members of Patterson had walked up and had asked a question to the panel at the plenary, asking, well, from the board's perspective, how do we introduce this into the contractor organization, right? And the response was, well, of course, accountability. Like you just have to basically you have to ensure and assign people those responsibilities within the organization. But there's a lot of questions around, okay, so data security, all of the different like structures within a corporate framework, the legal considerations and things like that. That all has to be really ironed out. But my point is that actually what we should do is instead of like using this for like, implanting sensors within, your equipment to get like real time uh, data within the equipment, why don't we just start with the people side of it? And that's like one of the biggest opportunities for drilling contractors is data aggregation. It lives all over the place, right? Papers, emails, spreadsheets. Well, let's start by centralizing that and then using AI to plug into that to help us organize our operations. So it was a great discussion at IADC, and I hope that the value is inherently seen. I inherently see it because, well, I lived all of this, right? When I was on the rig as a floor hand or a motor hand, they were like, all right, here's the paper brand and go fill it out. And so I was the paperwork guy. But it doesn't have to be like that anymore. And we can empower our roughnecks with these tools that Quantum Mechanics has built into it and what QuantiX AI, our language model, can provide. So I can't wait to do more of these podcasts and be a little more module specific. I can geek out over all kinds of features within the quantum mechanics platform. There's a lot of tools that are very cool, but I would ask that you go check out our website. quantum-mechanics with an X.com, right? I think it's a pretty cool name. Quantum-mechanics.com. My name is Brandon Lalonde. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I'll be posting this. Check it out, DM me. Would love to have a conversation, comment below, and let me know what you think. There's a lot I would love to talk about because there's just so much to talk about in the oil and gas industry right now. On our website, I have a blog there, and I actually have a news page where you can get a synopsis of the biggest stories in the oil and gas industry. So not just a headline, but a synopsis of what's going on. I I've done that through a lot of those stories are pulled from Rig Zone, but instead of having to read all of it, you get a handy dandy synopsis there. As well, we have a ticker that runs across the main site where you can see, what Brent crude is trading at, how much production there is in the U.S., what diesel costs right now, and just different things like that. Different enhancements to again improve our understanding of what is going on, right? Information, organizing information in a way that is useful to us on a day-to-day basis. So it's been a pleasure. This is episode 1 of Quantum MechaniX podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Lalonde from San Antonio, signing off. Like, comment, share, and DM me. I would love to give you a demo of the Quantum MechaniX podcast. I will see you guys next week. Bye.